Hello, I'm Paul Kennedy. Welcome to Contact Sport. Today we'll review the NRL matches from the weekend and then we'll preview the Australian wheelchair rugby team's bold plans for the World Championships.
It means a lot to us. We've never been number one in the world before, but at the same time we know it's a fair mission ahead of us, but we know we can do it. We've got a lot of big games ahead of us.
And we'll hear more from the Steelers coach, Brad Duberly, a little later. Now let's talk NRL. Sports reporter Jennifer Browning joins me now from Canberra. Jennifer, will review that fantastic West Tigers-Raiders match in a minute. But firstly, to the Roosters win over Penrith, and how have the victors pulled up after that clash?
Yes, well, they've pulled up pretty well, OK. Phil Graham has, he did a pectoral injury in the game on the weekend, but he's having glucose injections this week, so hopefully he'll be right to play in the preliminary final this Friday night. Now, they've said they're going to have to pick up their game after Saturday night's win over the Panthers. They head to Brisbane, where they'll play the Titans at Lang Park on Friday night. They were the dominant side in Saturday night's win over the Panthers, but the Panthers were struggling with a number of injuries. Let's take a look at how the game unfolded on Saturday night. The Panthers were missing several key players going into the final, but they were strengthened by the return of captain Petro Civoniceva. Penrith's injury woes quickly deepened, though, after centre Michael Jennings left the field in the opening minutes of the game.
Not feeling too comfortable at all.
It didn't get any better for the Panthers. The Roosters' Mitchell Pearce scored the opening try of the night before Luke Lewis went down as well.
Luke Lewis down and receiving attention from one of the trainers.
Pearce had a hand in almost everything as he sent Braithen Astor over before finding some room for Sean Kenny-Dow.
Pearce put it through the hands. Kenny-Dow beautifully executed.
Desperate to keep their season alive, the Panthers eventually found some space, with Adrian Patel scoring their first try of the evening.
He finds Patel, and the Panthers are in to score.
But the Roosters kept it a one-sided affair. Any thoughts of a comeback were destroyed by Anthony Minichiello.
And Minichiello, 101.
Before Pearce combined with his partner in crime to put the result beyond doubt.
Forgot a ball to Carney. Carney's in to score. That is ruthless.
I reckon if these two kids went back and watched some old tapes from Alfie Langer and Kevin Walters, they could easily form a combination to rival that outstanding team.
The Panthers scored a late consolation try, but it wasn't enough to save their season.
They exit like Canberra, and now we're down to 4.
It was a bit hard to measure, really, because I think Penrith came pretty busted up, and they were very busted up within sort of, 10 or 15 minutes of the start of the game. So, that's a tough call. I've been in those moccasins.
We need to improve for next week, and I think it's more a mental thing for us, and we know what we're capable of doing. But we do rise for the big games, and we have so far this season. So next week's a big game. So as long as we rise for that, then I'm happy.
And Jennifer Browning, let's talk now about that match between the Raiders and the West Tigers. I know you watched it very, very closely. How have the West Tigers pulled up from that game?
Yes, well, the West Tigers, they were struggling with a number of injuries going into that game, but they still managed to field a full-strength side. They've come out of that unscathed. They'll wait today. Forward Simon Dwyer was placed on report for a high tackle against Joe Picker, so they'll wait to see whether or not he's been charged. It was a very emotional night out there for Canberra Raiders fans. Close to 27,000 people crammed into Canberra Stadium. It wasn't the result they wanted, the West Tigers winning 26 points to 24 to end Canberra's dream run into the finals. Let's take a look at the highlights from that game now. The Tigers arrived in the national capital on Thursday, and after a week of injury speculation, they ended up fielding a full-strength team, with playmaker Benji Marshall making a miraculous return from a knee injury. More than 26,500 fans crammed into Canberra Stadium on Friday night, and most of those were wearing green. But the Tigers came with a plan to take the sting out of the green machine early on, and it worked, as the Raiders were left stunned by the Tigers' opening onslaught.
Into the score off a Marshall curler. Chris Hyden has scored off another Benji Marshall piece of magic.
But it didn't take long for Canberra to warm up. The Tigers showed little signs of fatigue from last week's marathon game as they tore apart the Raiders' defence, adding 2 more tries in quick succession.
He will score! Lodi Takiri!
But the visitors were caught napping as the Raiders narrowed the gap to 6 at the break. The Raiders mounted a second-half comeback, but it came at a high price, with co-captain Terry Campese stretchered from the field with a knee injury.
This is tragic.
The home team struggled without the playmaker, and a clumsy penalty by Tom Leroy-Lars made it an 8-point ball game. But Alan Tongue brought the team back within reach.
Tongue is over the line!
With the Raiders fans on the edge of their seats, Jared Croker was given an opportunity to level the score with minutes remaining, but it went wide.
Oh, he's got no! It's gone wide! It's gone wide! And Luke Bird would know better than anybody how he feels.
The Tigers held on to end the Raiders' dream run to the finals.
Well done, Tigers. An inconsolable Jared Croker. I hope you have many, many more great moments in your career because you're a fine young player.
We got close. As I said, I couldn't be any prouder. We've fought our way to be in this position, and the character of the team has always been there. So, and to come down here and get a win away from home with so many injuries, backing up after 100 minutes, I think it's probably one of the best wins the club has ever had.
Jennifer Browning, thanks for that review. And just a quick preview. You watched West Tigers very closely. Do you think they've got what it takes to beat the Dragons this week?
Yes, well, they'll be carrying the momentum into that game against the Dragons, but they'll probably be going back to 2005 to have a bit of a reflection. Back then, they beat the Dragons in the week before the grand final. The Tigers went on to win that grand final in 2005, so we'll look to see if they can repeat that effort.
OK, it'll be great to wait and prepare for those preliminary finals. Thanks for your time this morning. The Australian wheelchair rugby team is preparing for the World Championships in Canada later this week. The Steelers, with Riley Batt in their camp, are confident of winning gold. Amanda Shalala spoke to head coach Brad Duberly.
There's nothing more that we want than to win these World Championships and head into London and one team in the world.
And this is wheelchair rugby.
It's clear the Australian wheelchair rugby team won't settle for anything less than being the best when the world comes together in Canada. And the Green and Gold Murder Ball Brigade is ready for anything.
You just sort of feel like something big's about to happen. We're confident, we're calm and just ready to get the event started and get it all going.
You're ranked number 2 in the world at the moment. How much does it mean to the group to get that number 1?
Yeah, it means a lot to us. We've never been number 1 in the world before, but at the same time we know it's a fair mission ahead of us, but we know we can do it. We've got a lot of big games ahead of us before we get to that spot. We've got Japan, New Zealand and Belgium in our pool, and then we'll have likely the Canadians and the Americans in the final. So a lot of big games, but we know we can get there and finally achieve that goal of ours.
The biggest name in wheelchair rugby is Riley Batt, the 21-year-old enforcer from Port Macquarie, and he's a man not to be messed with.
Just twitching beautifully between and past contestants like he's going through the chicane in a Formula One circuit.
He has the speed, strength, the experience and the ability to read the game before it even happens. However, Riley will be the first one to tell you that he's only as good as his team that he's playing with, and his teammates are definitely stepped up this year and the last couple of years. Like our team's playing better now as a unit than we ever have before, and we don't rely on Riley to carry us as much anymore. But without doubt, he's a phenomenal player, best player in the game, and definitely love having him on our team.
Brilliant skill from Batt.
Duberly himself was once considered the best wheelchair rugby player in the world, but at just 29 years old, he's proving to be just as capable as the man with the clipboard.
Obviously, with the team performing well, it sort of encourages you and motivates you to keep doing what you do, but I like the challenge of the coaching. As an athlete, it was very much doing what was asked of me to do, where now I'm sort of given the direction. As an athlete, I was very self-centred though. It was all about me, and when I sort of got asked to do the coaching job, it was my way of being that team person that needed to be and providing our team and giving our team what we needed to take us to the top. So this is our first opportunity really to sort of take that number one spot, we want to make sure that we're in that position to do that.
You've been involved in the sport for quite some time. What sort of changes have you seen in it over the years?
Definitely professionalism. I guess the attention from outside, from the media and spectators has been pretty huge. Nowadays, you go to the airport with Riley and people recognise him and stuff like that, which is phenomenal. Like, going back 10 years ago, that sort of wasn't the case. Rugby is one of the biggest showcase events now at Paralympics. The hitting and stuff like that just attracts the spectators. So it's great to sort of see the sport going from strength to strength.
Dooley was introduced to the sport when he was 12 years old after a bushwalking accident.
We were just bushwalking on the trail that we used to always walk along pretty much every day, and I slipped off the trail and fell down like a 30-40 metre cliff and head first onto a rock in a creek, and broke my neck. But I was very fortunate because I was 12, and my two mates I was with, one was 11, one was 12. Were very somehow fortunate to when they got down to save me. They sort of kept my body straight to roll me over, and being winter and being water, the cold water ended up getting hypothermia, but it stopped all the swelling in my spinal cord. So I was very lucky in a few regards there, but at the same time, no one wants to be injured, but I've definitely gone and made the most of it now.
And that's a philosophy entrenched in the team.
The injury and the disability and stuff like that is a side note. The way we treat it is we're all elite athletes, and that's the first and foremost thing. Obviously, we've all overcome some sort of injury or accident or whatever it may be, so obviously we're all supportive of one another. However, because we've all sort of come from a similar thing, we understand what each other's been through, so the focus is definitely on being an athlete, and that's what we're all there for, to be athletes, for the enjoyment of the sport and also to be the best.
Good luck to Brad Dooley and the rest of the Australians. Thanks for watching. We'll leave you with pictures from the EPL. Man City won, Chelsea won, and Man U beat Liverpool 3-2. Dimitar Berbatov's hat-trick was a beauty.